Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Kite Reese Books podcast. I'm back in a suit, back at it again, and honestly, um, couldn't think of anything better to do right now. I actually have a better camera this week. I'm actually starting to use my phone. I can use my phone with this new computer that I got. So we're increasing the production value here a little bit, I guess. But I hope everybody's doing good this week. This week is my spring break. Um, Quite nice. Definitely needed some time to kind of take a step back and take a little breather. Don't we all need that sometimes? I think we do. Um, but this past weekend, I was in Austin, Texas for my internship. Um, I'm going to be doing a door-to-door sales job, selling pest control, which the product doesn't really matter. I'm really just trying to build a skill and meet some cool people. I'll be down in Nashville, Tennessee for that over the summer. And I'm really excited to see what goes on and really excited to grind and make some money. Right. So um that's pretty exciting. But I was down in Austin, Texas this last weekend. Austin is beautiful, honestly. I've been wanting to go for a really long time. And it's the comedy capital of the country right now. I didn't get to go to any comedy shows or anything like that, but I did get to see Sixth Street. I did get to see downtown Austin. I also got to see like the suburbs and the mountains, the hills. I did not know that Texas wasn't flat completely. Austin's actually very beautiful and it has some cool scenery. And I just overall just thoroughly enjoyed just being in Austin. Now the traveling, on the other hand, that's the kicker for me. I'm not the biggest fly guy. The biggest. I don't like traveling at all. Um, of course, I like being in a different place. I like traveling in the aspect of once I get there, I have a good time, and once I get there, I can get around and do the thing. But the whole flight thing, and you go to the airport, and you got to park and pay for park. It's just it gets a little outrageous. You know what I mean? I feel like that's not a crazy take. Also, we hit some turbulence getting into Austin, and I was an anxious wreck. I'm not gonna lie. I get on a plane, I can't sleep. I've never actually. I did sleep on the plane on the way back. We'll talk about that. But that was my first time ever sleeping on a plane because usually when I'm on a plane, I'm thinking, oh well, this is gonna be my last couple hours alive, so I might as well look outside and get a view from above. Um, because in about a couple hours, I'll be getting a view from 6 feet under. And especially with like all the plane crashes that's been going on lately, I don't know what the hell to think. I mean, I got on that plane thinking, oh, I'm gonna die. It's okay. I had a good life so far, and if I do land, if we do land, and everything works out well, be pleasantly surprised. I'll be excited. Ooh, I landed. I landed. Got there. Good. Good. But I fully expect to die. I fully expect to fall out of the air like like a bird getting shot and just fall out of the air and plummet to my death and blow up. Would that be the worst way to go out? No, I'd rather die like that than cancer. Sorry to everybody that's on cancer, but still, like I mean, me personally, I'd like a cool way to go out. At least you can say, "Oh yeah, I died." I mean, you can't say it because you're dead, but your parents and everybody around you, your friends, can say, "I died in a plane crash." I guess that's a cool way to go. Um, it's a story, I guess. Rather that than suffer. But so we get down there. I mean, we It was some rough air going into. That's what they say. They say, yeah, we're gonna hit some rough air. It's gonna be a little bumpy. We're fucking gliding through the. We're gliding through the air. Where are the bumps? Don't. I mean, if we're gonna get turbulent, just say, hey, look, buckle up. We're gonna hit some turbulence, but bumpy. It's gonna get a little bumpy going into Austin. So, flight attendants, please buckle up in the back. They should have like a headset so they say that to them, so I'm not like an anxious wreck. I'm fine. I'm all good with hitting a little bit of turbulence. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Um, but just don't let me know about it. Just say, hey, buckle up and enjoy the ride. Don't tell me it's gonna be a little bumpy ride. Now I think, oh, I'm definitely gonna die. I'm already thinking, yeah. I mean, there's a good chance I die. So, um, don't do that, please. From now on, if my pilot's watching, don't do that. Doesn't help. Doesn't help anybody. Except for the fucking flight attendants. Imagine if they didn't say anything and we hit just this big rough patch of I couldn't imagine being a flight attendant. I mean, all of these flight attendants are like back in the day. I feel like um flight attendants were supposed to be like a prize, if you would. Like everybody had that kind of, I mean, guy wise, like everybody kind of had that fantasy of getting with like a flight attendant because they used to be hot. Well, all of them did used to be hot. Now they're all just, oh, they get on the plane and they're doing the safety thing and their hair is all over the place. They just got done with a 48-hour bender on their day off. They're running off of a little bit of coffee and a little bit of cocaine. That's it. I mean, a little bump and run. That's what I call it. A little bump and a little cough. Bump and run. That's probably what they're running, or amphetamines. But these flight attendants look like they hate their lives because they probably do. I mean, their job is flying on a death trap, and they're just waiting for it to fall out of the sky, pretty much. I mean, I just cannot. I would never put my life on the line for a job like that. Yes, you get to travel for free, you get to be in like different places or whatever, but fuck that. Fuck it. You're you're gonna die on that plane. You're gonna die. And if you don't die on that plane, you're probably gonna die from an overdose trying to get on the goddamn plane. No, but it's like that one Denzel Washington movie when he's like drinking or whatever. He's like, I'm drunk right now in court, and he saves the plane, whatever. But he was hammered when he was flying the plane. That's every. I feel like that's every pilot. I don't know. I've never really met. I've met a couple guys that like fly planes, but they're not like commercial pilots. But I feel like all the commercial pilots, like they walk through the airport a little too quick, a little too um, little too focused. You know what I mean? Like I'm all for like having like uh go to get somewhere and get there, but it could be a little coked out. Little might have had a fireball or two at the bar on the way to fly the goddamn plane. Wouldn't be surprised. You know, some of these guys they fly a plane. They fly for Southwest. They fly for American Airlines. They fly for this, fly for that. It's flying a plane. All you got to do is get it up and put it down. While you're in the air sailing, you just press the button, let her go, and have at her. But no, that the Delta flight that fucking turned around and landed on the top, landed on upside down. That was tough, wasn't it? Real tough. And Delta's like $30,000. $30,000, no strings attached, and people are taking it. I think that that's dumb. Any lawyer can get more out of Delta than $30,000. $30,000? Hmm. Oh yeah, Delta has enough money to pay a little bit more than $30,000. Um, I think they should all get private jets. Just take like, I think I don't know how many people were on the plane. Say it was like 45. It was a small plane. 30 to 45 people on this plane, coming from Minnesota to Toronto, and then they landed in Toronto upside down. Um, give them all a little jet. You have the fleet. Even if it doesn't work, I think most people would take it and be like, I'm gonna sell it. And then you could probably get they could get a little chunk of change for that, a little bit more than $30,000. Do something that like remotely seems like you care, Delta. Because $30,000. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I've never seen $30,000 in my bank account. I've never made $30,000 before. So like it's easy for me to say like it's easy for anybody else to say that's $30,000 is a good amount of money. Like you could do a lot with it. It's a good amount of money, but it's you almost died. Is $30,000 is your life worth just $30,000? If it is, that's sad, and you probably should have died on that plane. No, but you can do better than that, Delta. But so I had a great weekend. I had a great weekend in Austin and hung out with the guys. Everybody's just really cool. I'm really excited for the summer. But on the way back, so I had a 6 a.m. flight coming back, and I thought I had an 8 a.m. flight coming back. Whole time it was supposed to land in my layover spot, which was Chicago at the beginning. It was supposed to land there at 8 o'clock. I misinterpreted. I thought it was flying out of Austin at 8 o'clock. So Saturday night, we went to this event, and then me and a couple other guys, we decided, oh well, like, we should try to go out. And by this time, it was late. I mean, it was 1 o'clock already. We're like, the bars are gonna close soon. Let's just go out, have a drink. I wasn't drinking, but I was like, I want to see downtown Austin. Like, I want to go see it. So we go downtown, and by the time we get there, everybody that they know at the bar, like that are already out, they're like, it's 2 o'clock. The bars are closing. I didn't even know it was this late. I'm hammered, so we're probably not going anywhere else. And we're all like, kind of like, we just drove 30 minutes to get downtown. What the fuck? What's going on? So, um, we were just shit out of luck. I just enjoyed being downtown. Really didn't care if we went out or not. Some female interaction wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world, though. I tell you that would not have been the worst thing in the world. But it is what it is. I was like, Austin, I'll be back at some point. I'll be back. I'll go back to Austin at some point in my life. I know definitely to go back to see like a Kill Tony show. Try to get on Kill Tony. Go to some comedy shows. They have really good barbecue and stuff down there. So I mean I'll definitely be back at some point. I mean, company I'm working for this summer is headquartered in Austin, so I I will definitely be down there at some point. But so we ended up staying like I stayed up. By the time I got back to our hotel, it had to have been like at least like at like 4:30 in the morning. Like we were just like driving around, like shooting the shit, just talking or whatever. Because these four guys in the fucking car, none of us. It's the first time ever meeting them that day. So we were just shooting the shit, just like telling each other and about ourselves, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool, really cool, really cool guys. and I'm excited to see what we can do this summer. But I got home at like 4:35. I go to check my flight logs to see if I can push my flight back. Boy, I shit you not. It was like 5:15 when I really checked it. 5:15. The airport's 40 minutes away, and I need to take an Uber, and I need to pack all my shit up. It says flight at flight departs at 6:05. So they probably start boarding at 5:45. Boy, did I shit a brick. I shit a brick, and I immediately called an Uber, and I'm like, all right, I called an Uber. I got in the Uber, took me to the fucking flight. I mean, took me to the airport. By the time I got to the airport, I'd missed my flight, which I've never missed a flight before ever. But mind you, I haven't slept at all. So I had been up from 8 o'clock the day before. So by the time I got to the airport and everything was 6:30, I was up for 22 hours already. So I was out of it. I was just in a daze. I go up I go up to this lady at the front desk, at the service desk, like special request or whatever, and I'm like I missed my flight. Like I don't know what to do. How how do we how do we figure this out? And a Hispanic lady, very nice lady, tried to help me out as well as she could, and she's like, "Yeah, well, I can't send you to Chicago because we don't have any other flights open that are flying from Chicago to Philadelphia. So your layover. Let me check Charlotte because you flew through Charlotte to get down here. Let me check Charlotte." So she checks Charlotte and she's like, "I don't see any. We don't have any open flights from Charlotte to Philly either." So she's like, "You got to choose one. You either fly to Chicago and hope for the best, or you fly to Charlotte and hope for the best. But we don't have any open flights today for either of those places, or anywhere else for that matter, to go to Philadelphia." So she's like, "Do you have any friends in Chicago? Do you have any friends in Charlotte?" Pretty much, we can fly you there, but can't promise you to get back to Philly. Mind you, I'm out of it. I'm out of it. I have no clue what's going on around me. I've never missed a flight before. I really don't even like flying in the first place. I hate being in fucking airports. It sucks. Whatever. And I'm just like, are you serious? She's like, you can either stay here in Austin, you can stay in Charlotte tonight, or you can stay in Chicago tonight. What do you want to do? And it's 6 o'clock in the morning, so like I'm not gonna start calling people to see if I can stay over at their house. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not close enough with anybody in any of those cities to call them at 6 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, can I stay over at your house tonight? Or can you pick me up from the airport?" As much as I like to think of myself as a well connected man. Mm, mm, mm. I was desperate, but not that desperate. So I said, "Send me to Charlotte. I'll just hop on a plane to Charlotte. That just give me a flight to Charlotte. I'll try I'll I'll figure it out, I guess." And this lady is she kept saying this shit. After every single time she's like, "Yeah, I can get you to Charlotte if you make it." She kept saying "if you make it" to me. She's like, "Well, if you make it to Charlotte, then you might be able to get on a flight, or if you make it to Chicago, or like we can send you here if you make it." Um, yeah, whenever you go back to Charlotte, there might be a flight, but that can take you back to Philly if you make it. And every time she said it, I was just like, "What do you?" what do you mean if I'm like with all these goddamn plane crashes and everything?
I'm like, what the fuck? Why? Why do you keep saying if you make like you're making me nervous? Are you planning on crashing a plane? Is that like some sort of tax write off for you guys or something? Like, why do you keep saying if you make it? The shit like it acts like I'm sitting there like laughing out of pure fear. I'm gonna just be completely honest, laughing out of pure fear. All right, I don't even give a shit about that thing. Just get me on a flight to Charlotte. I knew God was gonna hook me up in some way or some form. I was gonna get back to fucking Philly at some point. So I go to Charlotte. I fly to Charlotte, and it was I was out. I mean, I was out before fucking takeoff. I didn't wake up until we got to the gate. I slept through the landing. I get it, like sleeping through like the takeoff and everything, because I'm just like, I slept through the landing though. I'm actually kind of surprised I did that. I am and I'm not because I sleep like a fucking rock. But um it's kind of crazy that I slept through the landing. I was like and then we pull up to the uh the dock, I guess you would call, I don't know what the fuck it's called. But we pull up and then stop. As soon as we stop, I'm like, what happened? I'm in Charlotte. I've never slept on a plane before, and people say like when you sleep on a plane, it's like real life teleportation. The shit felt like I teleported back to Charlotte, and then I waited. I only had like a 10-15 minute layover in Charlotte. Then I hopped on another plane, went back up to Philly, and same thing on the thing on the flight to Philly. Fell asleep before takeoff. Didn't wake up till we got to the taxi spot. Like, oh shit, what happened? That's just real life like teleportation. It was nuts. And then I drove 3 hours home. I immediately stopped at a 7-Eleven and got one of those big tall coffees. Big. I needed it. And then I went back to a friend's house after I got back and just to like talk about like the trip or whatever. And boy, was I out of it. I was just like, like people are asking me questions. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know about that. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's me. Like when I don't know what the fuck's going on around me, that's me the entire time. I'm just sitting there like this. Yeah. Hmm. I mean, that's me the entire fucking time. She kept saying if you make it. That just kept running through my head. This like old like um Latino lady. She's like, oh yeah, you could probably get home to Philadelphia if you make it. The fuck you mean if I make it? It's scaring me. But like, I don't. That shit just that was crazy. But overall, it was a great weekend. Great weekend. Cannot complain. Um, I wanted to get on here today and just say I've been thinking about this. Just seeing, and I'm not even like what you would call like an activist. Like I'm not like a defund the police type of guy. It's always an amazing intro to any opinions. Like I don't like the idea of defunding the police, but no, but I saw a lot of cops down in Texas. For some reason, I've seen a lot of cops lately. Like they've been just sticking out to me. Like parole officer. I don't know why, but I've come to the realization that there's very little things that I respect less than a man in uniform. Now, hear me out. I, d- I think that there's good cops. I know that there's good cops, and the majority. I'm not even. That's a lie. Not the majority of cops. I think are not good cops, but I think that there's a need for law and order in our society. Definitely. But whatever training that these guys go through, or whatever kind of prerequisites you need to become a police officer, whatever that is, it just needs to be changed. I feel like, I mean, I feel bad for the guys because they're like putting their life on the line, you know? They are putting their life on the line for a job, and I understand that like it's a scary job or whatever, but you look at most of these cops and you're like, outside of that badge and gun, you are a bitch. And it's also like you signed up to be a cop to try to have power over somebody else. Nobody respects you though. And it's like you you walk around like you're all tough shit because you have a gun and badge. And I think you should take that gun and badge, put it together, and slide it up your rectum and fuck off for most things. I mean, like, there's just something about law enforcement that I just don't like. And I'm not like a liberal, like, I'm not like a liberal. I'm not a progressive. I'm not like a Black Lives Matter guy that's like, defund the police. I hate the police. Fuck. No, it's just I have no respect for them. You know, I have no. If I met a guy at a fucking coffee shop, right? If I meet a guy at a coffee shop, I'm sitting there having my cup of Joe. He comes in, gets a cup of Joe without the uniform. I just say without. I mean, with the uniform, I visibly don't respect him. I'm just like probably a coward. Most cops are cowards. Most cops only become cops because they really they really want to have a little bit of power over somebody else. A lot of these guys are ex-military people, and they just need to stay in the action, and they do it more for themselves than for the betterment of the community, in which I think is the wrong motive, and that's why I hate them. Not hate, but don't respect. But if a guy walks into a coffee shop, sits next to me, I mean, I'm a guy that if I'm out in public and I'm alone, somebody that's alone sits next to me, I'm gonna say hello, reach over, shake the hand. And reach over, shake the hand. I'm gonna say hello. How's it going? I'm Kydrees. Kydrees Burks. Very nice to meet you. What do you do? And if he says, I'm a police officer. See, state police officers I can respect I can respect a little bit more. I'll respect a state police officer just a little bit more because they wear a tie. They wear a tie with their uniform, so I can respect it a little bit more because it's like I don't even know. I don't even know what it is about that, but like they wear a tie with their uniform. I like that. I mean, it's a little bit more professional. I feel like most state policemen um really care like more about like the big shit than the little shit. But like the college, there's nothing I respect less than a fucking college police officer or like a county sheriff. Suck my dick. For most of it, it's like, I mean, God, come on, what are we doing? But again, I'm not like a defund the police guy. I think that the police are good. It's a good idea. It's a good thing. I think it's poorly executed, but um, I think overall, like, policing is something that our society needs. I just don't respect them at all, and especially women that do the job. I mean, a lady that is a cop, as much as some of them are a little hot, and I wouldn't mind being arrested by a couple of cops, you know. I still can't have respect for you as a human being. I I can only half respect your authority because I could be tossed in jail. Like your authority, I can't fuck that. I can't even respect your authority because it's like most of these cops will pull somebody over for speeding and then speed home in their civilian car. It's it's like the most hypocritical job in the world. Especially for like a lot of these county police when they need to hit quotas on like little bullshit. Now, like the cops back in the day, I can respect the cops back in the day because they were villains, and and they acted the way that they act. Nowadays, all the police officers want us to think that they're good, but they're doing shady shit. It's like if you're doing shady shit, just don't say anything. You know what I mean? If you're doing shady shit, cover it up. At least be good at it. Like nobody believes you anymore. Nobody believes the police. Nobody really, nobody really has like and everybody, all the conservatives. Oh, blue lives matter. Blue lives. That's fucked up. I mean, the whole blue lives matter thing. As much as I don't support Black Lives Matter because I mean it's a whole money laundering scheme and it was never really helped out social injustice and all that other stuff. Um, as much as I don't really like that, I can definitely not respect Blue Lives Matter. I mean, that's just like a callback. That's like I don't even. It's like saying I have black friends. When somebody says you're racist, you're like, oh, I'm not racist. I have black friends. It's like you don't need to. You don't need to say that. Like it's not. It doesn't make you look better as a person if you say, "Nah, not Black Lives Matter, but Blue Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matter." These cops are paid by the cops are hired by the government. It's like no, like yeah, all every life matters, but you're now promoting the police. I don't think they need any promotion. I don't think that they need any more fuel in the tank. You know what I mean? I think they do a pretty good job at fucking up on their own. They don't need fuel to the fire. But yeah, it's like hmm, very interesting to say the least. Very interesting to say the least. But me personally, I just want to say again to reiterate, me personally, it takes a lot for me to have respect for a man that would sign up for a job like that. Because you're not doing it for the money. You're not doing it for the pay. You know what I mean? I mean, you get a pension and it's a government job, it's very stable, but nobody's becoming a cop for the pay. It's more for the power, I think. From what I've seen, does that power get abused? Most of the time. Most of the time, yeah. Yeah. Every cop has abused their power in some way, some point. Cops just make up shit too to make them sound better too. I don't even want to get into that. I don't want to get into any more details, but I just don't respect them. Simple as that. Um, but like you, I'll have like a conversation like that, and I'll bring up a a point similar to that, or just really anything, like any original thought that I have, and I want to have a conversation with like a friend about. There's just no education. Like people don't know what's going on around the world, and I think it's kind of fucked up. Like watch the news. Everybody's like, "Oh no, I'm not watching the news because I like the news is all bullshit and the media is all bullshit." Agreed. Agreed. I think that the media is fucked up and it's ran by one side of the totem pole, and you get a lot of bias. But, big but, if you diversify the amount of news or the type of news that you take in, and you get a point from here, you get an opinion from over here, you get opinion from up here, you get opinion from down there, you get opinion from all over the world. You get a little bits and pieces. You can actually start to form your own opinion. Now, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if you could have your own thoughts? Wouldn't that be nice if you actually knew what was going on in your government or around you, or not even just like politically, just like shit that's going on? Shit that's going on in tech, shit that's going on in the market, shit that's going on that's affecting you. Everybody's like, oh no, government, I mean, politics, there's no point in even thinking about politics or learning about politics because it doesn't affect me. Yeah, it does. As much as you think that it doesn't affect you and you can do your business or whatever, and like you work a job, you're not getting paid any less, you're not getting paid any more because of politics. That may be true, but everything around you is being affected by politics, which then affects the consumer, which we all are. So I I'm like I try to have these conversations where I'm like I put out my original thought, and it goes one of two ways. It goes one of two ways. Somebody either says something really fucking ignorant and just says something that I don't know, maybe try to be funny, maybe try to just to counter, um but or they say something while not believing what they say, and it's just ignorant. Like people are just sometimes you'll just get an ignorant ass comment, and then when somebody says something ignorant back, like if I'm trying to, and I'm not saying I need to have a like a full fledged fucking debate and a serious conversation the entire time. I'm not saying that, but a playful conversation is fun if everybody's educated. But if you're ignorant, it's kind of hard to have any sort of conversation if you're just saying shit that is like outlandish, right? It's like, all right, this isn't really funny. I don't really want to entertain that. That's not even an original thought. That's just what you think I'm gonna find is funny. I don't even know anymore. People say ignorant shit. Like I don't think that I don't know if they think it's funny. I don't know if they think that like people think that they're smart for something. I don't know, but every single time that I hear some ignorant shit like that, like don't get me wrong, I say some ignorant shit myself, but it's clearly like I'm being ignorant on purpose. Clearly, like I make it clear that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't give a fuck about that. Fuck that. But some people say really ignorant shit and mean it, or like they try to make it blatant, but it's just not like not blatant at all. And it's like, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I don't really know. But that's one side of the poll. Or the other side of the poll is like, I don't even fucking know. I I don't know what that is. And can you explain me? Can you explain that to me? And then next thing you know, I'm a fucking civics and gov teacher. Next thing you know, I'm like I'm a fucking college professor having to teach it, and then people like base their opinions off of my opinion, and I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. You're a different person than me. Do your own research. Do your own research, but no, nobody wants to do their own research. Nobody wants to read the news. Nobody wants to do this because it's a lot easier to go like this on TikTok. a lot easier to go like that on TikTok. But start reading the fucking start, and especially if you're watching this, you're my age, you're around that 20-year-old mark. You're about to get out of college. Maybe you're already out of college. Maybe you're like in your mid-20s. Maybe you're younger. Maybe you're in high school, or getting beginning 2 years of college. Start reading the fucking news. Start figuring out what the hell's going on around you, and start forming your own opinions on what's going on. Promise you, it's not gonna hurt. And also, when you start to read the news every day, or watch the news every day, or just you start to become informed on what's going on, then and only then should you start to contribute to any sort of conversation regarding what's going on in the world. And then this is another thing. Everybody loves our freedom. Everybody loves our rights as Americans, our Constitution. I mean, I'm a big fan. I love America. But we're so fucking dumb as Americans. We love our democracy, but nobody wants to participate in it outside of voting. And even voting, nobody wants to vote. Nobody, even when they do vote, they don't want to educate themselves on both sides. Everybody just wants to vote the party, and then it becomes a groupthink. And then nobody's individual opinions are really heard because nobody has them. Nobody's informed enough on what's going on and how this side's fucking us and how this side's fucking us. Nobody knows how both sides are fucking us. And then you start to learn about how both sides are fucking us, and then you find this guy, which is all the tech oligarchs, all of the powerful families in the world, the oil guys, the tech guys, the big industry guys, the top 1%, the Rothschilds, the fucking Vanderbilt family, the Vanguards, the Black Rocks. You can never understand all of those people that are really playing the puppets until you know how bad both sides are fucking us, because they both are. And I used to lean really, really far to the right because I think I kind of did that out of retaliation because I mean, where I grew up, everybody's really liberal, democratic, and but they're all people that aren't educated, and they don't want to educate themselves on politics or anything. And when they watch the news, just watch the local news, watch 16, which is the Williamsport whatever. But if you're my age, start reading up on this shit. Start actually figuring out what's going on around the world. Not only will you know what's going on around the world, but you might be able to use that knowledge to make some money. That's what America's about. America's about making money and knowing what's going on. Because if there's a news article that casts I mean, like this, Trump's tariff plan affects the entire stock market. I mean, not the entirety of it, but it affects a good portion of the stock market and just markets in general. The tariff is going the tariff schedule, or the amount of tariffs placed on these foreign countries that are manufacturing a lot of goods for the American consumer. The consumer is going to see a short-term increase in inflation due to the increased bottom line that foreign conglomerate has. So that will be reflected on the prices of consumer goods. We did have good CPI data, which CPI is the Consumer Price Index, and it pretty much equates what a market basket of goods costs in America. What exact things are in that market basket of goods, I'm not really sure. I just understand the concept that surrounds it. And there's two different types of CPI. There's core CPI, and then there's just regular CPI. And regular CPI is everything. And core CPI is everything but energy, in terms of like electricity, power, like gas, oil, energy, and food, because energy and food are the two most volatile things in the economy in terms of inflation. But what CPI data does, and it shows what this market basket of goods costs the consumer price index. It's an index that shows what consumer prices are. So what can we do with that data? We can figure out like we can figure out an approximation of what inflation is going to be for that year or that time period or whatever. So we got CPI data about a month ago, beginning of February. Good numbers. I mean, we can definitely see that inflation's slowing. There was just an article posted at the beginning of this week that inflation's down to 2.8% under Trump since his thing, but his tariff plans are definitely going to affect that. We're probably going to see a spike. I mean, I guess it's probably going to be rise up to like 4 to 6%. I think that it could get that high with this short term, but I think it's going to be mostly in the short term. In the long term, I think it's going to go back down. I mean, have you seen the gas prices? They're amazing. It starts with a two. Um, but we have seen a decline in inflation in the past couple years since the whole COVID thing. Biden didn't really do a great job at like economic policy to really slow it down. Um, and I'm not really as educated as I am. I'm not educated enough to know exactly what kind of economic legislation Donald Trump has passed to begin to slow inflation. But he's, I mean, it's at 2.8% right now under Trump, and it's the Fed's goal is 2%. So we're on the right track right now. I think, like I said, the tariffs is going to make it go back up, but all of that shit probably sounded like gibberish to a lot of the people that watch this show because they don't know what's going on around the world. You should figure it out. You should know a little bit about how the economy works. You should just know. You don't need to be a fucking economist. I'm not saying that you need to go to school for finance and you need to go to school for economics. You don't need to go to school to understand this shit. All of this shit is a YouTube video away. A 5-minute WikiHow video. I mean, there's so many resources that we have at our fingertips that we're on constantly going like this, watching people do the. You can watch 5 fucking hours a day of people doing this. 5 hours a day of that shit. You can't read one goddamn news article? Come on. We're better than this. Or are we? Thank you to our sponsor. I'm just playing around. No sponsors yet. We need to get some sponsors in here. If you own a business or anything, you want somebody to talk about it, give me $5. Talk about it on this podcast. I'm desperate. Give me something. Or like a free lunch. I'd do it for a free lunch. If it was like one of these state colleges, like if they were like El Jefes came up to me and they're like, oh, if I went to El Jefes, I was like, I'll promote you guys on my podcast. Um, I'll give you guys a 30-second ad. What's that worth to you? And if they said, you know what that's worth to us? A burrito bowl. I said, you'll hear it every week. Give me that burrito bowl. It doesn't take it doesn't take a lot to please me right now. Like I'd do that shit for a burrito bowl in a second, in a flash. But no, getting back to my point, we just, I mean, especially our generation, we need to do better at like understanding what's going on around us, because how are we ever going to have a deliberative democracy, which is the power of the people? How are we going to run a country without knowing how a country or how this country has run? Does that make sense? It's like if we start to notice the signs and the patterns of like what goes on in our not only our government but just the economy and how things work in our country, if we never spend the time to try to understand it, I mean, and you don't need to have a deep understanding, like a deep knowledge of economic policy or legislation or anything like that. I'm not telling you read the fucking Bill of Rights. I'm saying read a news article. Watch 15 minutes of CNN, watch 15 minutes of Fox, then watch 15 minutes of MSNBC, watch 15 minutes of this, watch 15 minutes of Bloomberg. Watch 15 minutes of it all. Watch a little bit of everything, and then take all of that you just learned and then form your own opinion on it, and then we can have the conversation. Then we can deliberate as a democracy as we are intended to be. But we are never going to get to a real democracy until we really figure out as citizens what the hell is going on and how we can point out the problems. We can't point out the problems and find solutions if we don't know the thing. You gotta know, you gotta be able to see how the thing works and say, oh, that's not right, that's not right, that's not right, that's not right. But you gotta actually look at the thing to see something that's not right. And then once something's right, then then we all as collective citizens can deliberate and talk about it. And then I may change your mind, you may change my mind. We usually, I mean, with a democracy, the plan is to come to some sort of consensus, then we vote on it. And then we get that. But I think the scariest thing is uninformed voters. Voters that just vote the party. That's the scariest thing in the world, because that's not democracy. As much as I think it's good to have a two-party system, I think it's good to have different parties. I think it's good. I mean, us as human beings just want to be a part of a group. But I mean, any person that says that they 100% agree with one side over the other is a lunatic. On everything, you don't have one. You're a Republican, you don't have one liberal view. Look at that. But you're a Republican, you don't have one liberal view. You don't agree with the Democrats on one thing. That's a problem. Maybe you should check that. I just think that the world will be a better place, and we will be able to make this country better. We will be able to make this country better, and the citizens will have more power as citizens, as we should, because our democracy should be run by the people, but it's not. It's not right now. And let's be honest, I mean, I personally don't want the country to be run by the American people today. The American people today are idiots. Honestly, I mean, the average American is not smart. But it's because the average American doesn't want to take the time to inform themselves on anything. So if you I mean, if you want to be the average American, want to be dumb as shit and disconnected from the thing their entire lives, I mean, there's plenty of ways to have a, I guess, successful life and stay out of it. But I feel like, me personally, like I feel like we all have obligations as citizens of a democracy, the best country, the greatest country in the world. Um, we're all so privileged to have a system that gives us so many rights and freedoms that we should all have an obligation to govern as the people. And that's why I kind of like the whole Doge thing. I mean, I like getting rid of all the bureaucrats and everything and get back to democracy. But I mean, even if Doge like kicks out all the people and we do actually start running by the people, I think we're fucked, because most people aren't informed. They don't know what they're talking about. And that's what I'm saying. We gotta get a grip on this. We gotta figure out what the fuck we need to do. We gotta be able to have conversations about this thing without being ignorant. You can be ignorant and make a joke. A joke is a joke is a joke. Ignorance is ignorance in my mind. I mean, I love jokes. I'm a big fan of comedy. I love humor. Humor is like the best thing in the world to me. I love laughing. I love telling jokes. This show, I like telling jokes all the time. But every good joke has a little bit of seriousness to it. And ignorance, I mean, every good joke has a little bit of truth. Ignorance is just not true. Like, most of the shit is not true. And most of the time, you really don't even believe that. You just want a reaction out of somebody. So, I think we just need to get informed. Is that a crazy shout? Maybe. Maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I hope it's not. I mean, as much as everybody says like the future looks scary, I think that the future looks good if we all like get our act together and we start to call out some of this bullshit that like goes on. But we're never going to be able to call out bullshit if we're not looking for it. Twitter's not a good place for news. Facebook's not a good place for news. Instagram's not really a great place for news. Now they have people on there that give the news that are great, but the majority of the things that you'll see on Twitter, Reddit, like all these social media apps are that exact same thing of like a lot of it's ignorant shit that they're trying to get a reaction, trying to get likes, trying to get comments, trying to monetize. This is America. But I don't know. Deliberative. I think for us to actually have a deliberative democracy, we need to be able to consume media that's actually somewhat informative. Even if it is biased, there is some fact in a lot of it, and though you might hear like to be able to form your own opinion, it's nice to hear a bunch of other opinions to see like you pick bits and pieces what resonates with you. And what my opinions are going to be different than what your opinions are. And I'm not saying that everybody should have the same opinions, but everybody should have their own original thought. Just repeating what Tucker Carlson said isn't good enough. It's not good enough. I won't respect that. And I hope that you guys don't respect that when people do that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I repeat shit that other people say, but that's only if I truly believe that. And then I'll continue by adding my own explanation to the thing. But you can't really have your own original thought or your own opinion without any knowledge on the subject. So get some fucking knowledge. Pick up a book, touch grass, and watch the fucking news. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I really enjoyed this episode, honestly. I think this is one of my better ones so far. So, I get really passionate about people getting informed. I mean, you don't have to go to college to do this shit. You don't have to go to college to do this shit. Just do it. It's good for you. It is what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for watching another episode of the Kydri Sparks podcast. Keep looking out for the show, and I thank everybody for their support. Everybody have an amazing week. Please have an amazing week. Enjoy.